Okay, in this video we're going to start to talk about how to do things with numbers. The Java language, we're going to talk about what's called the Math class. So the Java language includes a class that's basically like a calculator. It is a calculator. The people who wrote Java built this object for you to use that is called Math. It's a class of objects that can just do stuff for you with numbers. So, for instance, say we wanted to take, say int1, let's give int1 a value of 4 and int2 a value of, let's just say -3, and let's just use int2 in this case. So say we wanted to get at the absolute value of something. So let's say int absolute value equals Math.abs of int1. So this says, what does this line of code say? It says, okay, math class, I need you to do something for me. And so the math class is just like a utility. It's just like a tool belt to do things to numbers. So math class, it is a calculator. You just need to think of it that way. Math, I'd say math class, do the absolute value, give me the absolute value of whatever I send you, in this case int1, and then store it in this new integer I just created. So let's print out system.out.println int1, and then system.out.println absolute value. And so if we print this, or if we run this program, we see, oh, int1, I always do this. Okay, let's do int -4 on int1. We see int1 has a value of -4, and when math.abs is asked to give us the absolute value of int1 and store it there, it changes it to 4. So there are a couple other useful functions in the math class, many in fact, but we're only going to talk about a couple here. So what if we wanted to find something taken to a higher power? So you can do system.out.println and then Math.pow, which is taking it to a power. So int1 to the power of int2. So let's not do negatives because that could be confusing. So let's just do int1 is 4, int2 is 2, and what will this print out? It will print out 4 to the second power. So 4 and 4 and then 16. And so this is a little bit interesting because when you look at what it printed out, it did print out a decimal value. And that's because Math.pow returns or sends back a value that is in double form. So it returns a value in double form. So what if we did this? So int power equals math.pow int1 int2. So will this work? And the answer is no, because the container into which we decided we wanted to store the information that math.pow or power sends back to us is of type integer, and this thing gives us something in the form of a double. So the computer cannot take information that is stored in one type and put it automatically into another type. So this happens all the time, and there is an easy solution, which is called casting. So in this case, if we want, we know that, or we're aware of at this point, that math.pow sends us back something that has a decimal, but we want to store it in an integer variable which does not have a decimal component. So the compiler calls our attention to the fact that this is a problem. And so what do? We do what's called casting. This is not magical. It looks weird at first, but all you do is you say, okay, take whatever is stored here in this double form. I know it's going to be a double, but I want it to be in an integer container. I only want the integer component. So you say, okay, make it into an int. Do the integer thing and store it in power. Now everything is happy, and we can do the same thing and print out whatever is in power, and the program is satisfied. So that is a little bit about Math Math.abs and .power, a couple different functions of the math class. Let's just talk quickly about one more before this video is out. Another thing that's useful for the math class is square root. So you can do like, what is the square root of int 1, or the int 1? You can just ask it to give you that. So let's put that in an integer variable called square root equals math.square root int 1. Again, it's angry. Why is it angry? Because this thing returns a double. But we have said put it in this container that is an integer. Well, in this case, we know that it'll be okay. But let's also just, another solution rather than casting is to change the type of storage container you're trying to put the information into. So you can change it to a double and satisfy the conditions of the compiler. And then let's print out system.out.println square root. And the final line of the code will be, when it runs, 2.0, which is of course the square root of 4. So those are some things about the math class and casting, and that's enough for this video.